Do you mind if we start with a prayer?
Go for it.
All
I'm
right.
not
Okay.
prepared.
Oh, flying spaghetti monster, please look down on us with the warmth and noodly sauces and the meatiest of bowls, and please let truth rain down upon us, even against our will. In the name of love and truth in the flying spaghetti monster, Ramen.
Ramen.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Today we have Captain Steve Moser. Am I saying that right, Moser?
That is it.
How are you, Captain Moser?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
I am very well. I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel, some interviews with some Pastafarians. I haven't yet talked to many Pastafarians because a lot of us are closeted. Uh, but you're not. You're very public in your preaching. First, if you don't mind, can we get right into it? Do you mind?
Go for it.
I've got my notes here. Tell us of your conversion. Were you always Pastafarian? Were you raised Pastafarian?
I would say I was more of an atheist. Growing up, my father's side went to church. My mother didn't really go to church so much. Um, and then my wife, her family, a lot of it is around church, but her parents really didn't take them to church. Like she went to like people's weddings and things like that,
Hmm.
but they didn't go to church every Sunday per se, right? Yeah.
So they were like socially religious, but not every week. And but you were not religious. Your father was. He went.
Yeah, that was more controlled by his mother. But we went to church every Sunday until I was probably 12, 13, something like that.
Hmm.
And then we went through a period where we didn't go, and then my dad decided to go start going to church again. So sometime in my teenage years, we went for a short period of time, and
Hmm.
but that was about it.
So you're not really into religion, and it wasn't really forced upon you. But then something happened, and you became very religious. What happened? What changed in your life?
I have three children, so that was morals, values, and
Yes.
critical. So that's why I like the gospel for that reason. It says it could all be bullshit, and I don't want to sell my kids the Bible as fact. And you
Right.
know,
I've been listening to your the videos that you post both to YouTube and Facebook. You do a lot on Facebook. You've got you started the Cincinnati Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, correct?
correct.
And you have that you run that page there, and you post to it quite often. During your the preaching that you did about a month ago, you were talking about bringing a pirate ship to Cincinnati. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I when I got into this religion, I found out that there was no pirate ship church in the gospel. So there was going to be one by 2007, and there wasn't. So I was a little disappointed in that, and I found that there was a couple churches that seemed to be operating in across the world, but nothing really in the United States. And um, we have a major waterway in Cincinnati. Then we also have the $100 million Ark Creation Museum. So I think we would be a pretty cool thing to compete with them as far as tourist attraction goes. Um,
And you were expecting Ken Ham to come and see you today. Is that correct?
not exactly, but
Hoping.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't want to debate. I mean, he did that Bill Nye debate. Why doesn't he want to talk to truthful preachers? So if you were to get a boat on the Ohio River, you could get it all the way to the Gulf, right? Is that right? You could take it all the way down
Yeah, you
Mississippi.
can
And
get yeah, you can go all the way up to the Great Lakes.
also on your Cincinnati the YouTube thing that you have a lot of art by Bob Thorold. Am I saying that right? Tell me
I
about.
actually don't know how to say his last name, but
Okay.
that's a good guess, I would say.
All right. How did you get in touch with this artist and yeah, tell us about that, the relationship with him.
He messaged me one day and asked if I was done working on my logo, and I Oh, his Facebook picture was the Wisconsin Church, the Flying Spaghetti Monster,
Mm.
and I asked him if he incorporated, and he's like, "No, I'm just one guy," and I was like, "Well, that's what I am." So yeah, then he makes a crap ton of memes, and I see him post memes all the time. So I asked him one day if he would make a get well card for somebody, and he made one, and I was like, "Hey, you should make this." Group for, basically a homework group, but for Flying Spaghetti Monster. And he's like, well, if you organize the stuff, I'll send it to you. And I was like, all right, that's cool.
Excellent. Yeah, I do find it's collaborations. Collaborations do make these sort of small personal things into something that are much bigger, that can reach a wider audience. I do like a lot of the work that he's done there. It's very good because we're underrepresented in the card industry. You go to the major retailers to find something, and there's some religious things, but there's no mention of our religion.
Oh, there was a mall around us that had probably, I'm going to take a guess, 4,000 square foot a store, just, Christianity store.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still there or not, but it was in Forest Fair Mall for a long time. If anybody's local watching this, but yeah, it was a long time that it was there, and it was a mega store for anything Catholic Christian.
Yeah. So you're gonna open up a megastore, Pastafarian megastore soon?
Well,
No.
maybe Bob will. Inside the ship.
Yeah. That'll be great. That'll be great. We don't really have. I'm in Denver, and I don't think that you can sail up here. I think the rivers are much too shallow to get to here. But I visit the coast a lot, so when you get your boat, I'll meet you on the Pacific there.
Sounds good.
You have recently been fighting against the red tape to get your church incorporated, a step that I am loath to take because, well, because of the pushback that you've received. There's lots of. Would you tell us? Would you start at the beginning and tell us how all of the sort of roadblocks that you found as you've tried to make your church as a pastor, as a preacher, a legitimate sort of thing, and the pushback that you and the um, what's the word, the persecution that you've received as you've tried to become normal, like normalize what we're doing.
I wouldn't say there's been a lot of pushback as far as government regulation goes. I filled out in Ohio. It was really easy to fill out the paperwork to incorporate. So the first form gets you this, which is um,
Ohio Secretary of State.
yeah, that's the allows you to do business in the state of Ohio.
Hmm.
And then I had to fill out an SS-24, I believe was what it's called, and that gives you an EIN number. And with that EIN number, you can then go to a bank and open up a bank account.
Hmm.
It's your tax ID. So once we got that, I went to the bank. I opened a bank account, and this bank that I opened the account with, our home mortgage is with our business. We own a construction business. Me and my wife. That accounts with them as well, and our personal bank account. So they know who we are. So they opened the account, no problem. And then I got a certified letter in the mail, almost close to a month later, and they shut the bank account down. I've gotten the runaround and the reasoning. My wife actually used to work for the bank as well before we started the construction business. So our theory is they had an auditor come in. The auditor was like, "Hey, this looks suspicious," and shut it down, even though we have a relationship with them and everything there. So the thing I think is really cool though is I bought those checks, and that was the one thing I really regretted but I just wanted them for the novelty. I
Mm.
thought they would be cool. So I bought them, and they were $46, and I got 4 books of checks, and then now I get them for free.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
You've posted those some of those calls and some of those interactions to your Facebook and YouTube. I've been watching those, and their reasoning is very specious. They're claiming that other churches were closed down as well, and the policy that they keep referring to is so incredibly vague because they keep saying their policy stopped them, and then as soon as they get it straightened out, they'll start it again. And they're both theys. It's really hard to understand what they're saying to you as I read these things. Do you how hard is it not to feel that this is specifically against your religion? How hard is it not to take this personally?
Um, as of now, I don't really take it a whole lot personally. I'm not done questioning it. You know what I mean? I'm still definitely going in there tomorrow, and I'm
Hmm.
going to ask the manager that actually sent the letter. Um, what's going on with it and see what they have to say. But I do feel like every time I talk to them, I just get a runaround,
Hmm.
basically. Like it seems like they know, but they just don't want to say.
Yeah. Don't want to give a specific. Um, talking specifically about like the bureaucracy and the forms you have to fill out and all the paperwork you have to submit in order to bring your church into
That
in.
was really easy. I can't believe I'm the first that did it. As far as I know, I mean, from when I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, is the only other organization that's filled out paperwork that's associated with the Flying Spaghetti Monster is in the United States is the Pasta Foundation. And from other than that, I don't know anybody or seen anybody else that's actually filled out any kind of paperwork or tax forms or
I feel the
anything
same.
like.
I don't know anyone who's attempted to do that, but I very much want to. I'm worried. How much have you had to pay for this? Is this a very expensive process? If you don't mind talking about that.
$100 to incorporate in the state of Ohio. The and everything else has been free from there. I
Okay.
do believe, except for setting up the bank account. You know, you had to set it up with $100 and I had to
Hmm.
buy the
It's your money.
checks.
You don't have to buy
Yeah,
checks.
yeah, and you don't have to buy checks and it's your money. But
Yeah.
other than that, that's really the only thing that's cost money was $100 to court. Now, when I go to pay my taxes at the end of the year, I'm gonna have to file, and that is gonna cost money for my accountant to actually file the taxes. But I don't know if that's maybe 100, $200, something like that. I imagine he's in charge. But
Yeah, depending on if we even have to file anything.
yeah, my wife said that even depends if we even have to file anything.
Hmm.
I quit
Thing.
smoking cigarettes, so everything I've kind of done has been on a budget of quitting smoking cigarettes.
Congratulations. How long have you been quit?
A little over 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Did you use gum at all? How did you do that?
Actually was the day I finished reading the gospel. I quit smoking cigarettes and
Okay.
cold turkey. Didn't use anything. So yeah,
Well, Robert Jordan, is that his name? That's not his name. Mr. Jordan says that you can't quit smoking without a religious experience. Jordan Peterson, that's the guy. Is that his name, Jordan Peterson? Yeah, that guy. All right.
yeah, you could definitely say I traded one addiction for another.
Right,
That's
right. That is religion though, isn't it? So when you incorporated it, you became a tax exempt church, is that correct? So that when people donate to you, can they write that off on their taxes? Do you know about that?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Because that is one
Uh,
of one of the things I'm very excited to say to people is tax free. It's just so delicious to it's just something.
so from what I understand, there is I don't know that like I'm necessarily like if I do take in donations, I don't know if I have to claim, like a what is that called, income on them,
Hmm.
so to speak. If all the money goes out, definitely not. But if it sat there for a year and did
Hmm.
nothing with it, I don't know if I'd have to if it's tax free or if I'd have to show it as income or how that works.
And
I
would the
really
would the donators be able to write their donations off of their year-end taxes as a to?
I think as long as we give them a receipt.
I have no clue, to be honest. My wife says she thinks as long as we give them a receipt, yes, but I
Okay,
honestly have no clue at all.
excellent.
Um,
Your plan to build get a pirate ship with to use as your church and to travel around. Is that I'm understanding that right?
um, Not necessarily travel around. I mean, we might. I have no idea. It's a possibility. I I talked to. There was recently a two ships that came and visited us, the Nina and the Pinta,
Hmm.
uh, and they're really cool replica ships. But I talked to the people, some of the crew people during the WBM fireworks, and they said a lot of times those ships go out of business when they just sit at a dock.
Hmm.
They have to go from city to city, and they get free advertising as they're coming in. All the big news stations were posting pictures of them and talking about them, and they told me they didn't spend a dime in advertising. They just didn't tell the news people, hey, we're coming to your town, and they get the free advertising. But we're going to be a church and a tourist attraction, so
Hmm.
I don't know how much it's going to travel and how much it's going to just stay sitting there, and it'd be cheaper for us for it to stay sitting there
Hmm.
than to have a crew, because with a one person crew we could have it literally just sit at a dock.
So you're a Pastafarian preacher. You were ordained this summer. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah,
Why?
it all really happened quite quickly for me. I just, I read the gospel, and then I was like, oh, the Religious Liberty Task Force happened too,
Hmm.
an announcement. So right as I was reading the gospel, that happened, and I was like, and it, finished reading the gospel, and I was like, heck, I'm gonna sign up for it, and then from there, but people were like, it's not a religion, and I was like, well, I'll show you.
Yeah, let me show you. Let me show you how real it is. So that's what brought you from just sort of a practicing Pastafarian. Because you probably do as well. Meet a lot of people who are profess to be Pastafarians, but are very personal about it, or maybe closeted. Do you find this religious task force was what moved you from just being a member of the church to wanting to preach it and pronounce it, or what was the big motivator to get you to make it public?
Well, the Religious Liberty Task Force, I guess that was enough for me to like be like, hey, I'm gonna contribute $40 to this religion. When I bought my copy of the gospel, I didn't actually, you know, Pastafarians didn't profit off of me. I bought it off of Amazon used, so
Hmm.
I bought it from Goodwill store. So, I felt it okay to spend $40 and get ordained, and then from there it was, yeah.
Do you find many Pastafarians in Cincinnati? Is it a very faithful place, or do you find mostly heathens there?
No, Cincinnati is definitely like Bible Belt, Bible Belt. I know people on Facebook who scream about they need the devil to leave them, and things like that. So I find it very, people are selling it as fact here.
Yeah,
Quite. We have the Creation Museum.
yeah.
I mean, somebody spent $100 million on the land and developing it and putting a boat on it that's never going to hit water. They're selling it as fact. We're trying to, but it just amazes me.
It's then that's is that from the that is Ken Ham the Answers in Genesis people? Is that right?
Yeah. Ken
Yeah,
Ham owns that. From my understanding, he's gotten. I haven't quite followed it 100%, but he's gotten into a little bit of trouble here and there. He sold the land
yeah.
at one point in time, and
To
yeah,
himself, right? For very
yeah,
cheap. Yeah.
yeah.
It's. I mean, that's the fun of religion, right?